All right, I want you guys to listen very closely because this is going to be the most informative video you'll ever watch in your entire life. And you might be wondering what that is if you clicked on the video without reading the thumbnail or the title. But what it is I'm basically going to be talking about the best ski resorts in North America. This is a completely true list, no opinion here, just complete facts. The best ski resorts in order. But yeah, so basically with the ski season coming up in less than a week, this is a perfect time. Well, maybe not the perfect time. It probably would have been better if I talked about the best resorts in like August or September when you guys are actually booking trips, but I procrastinate and here we are. I have a lot to talk about in this video and I still think you guys will find some sort of value in this. Unlike what I said before, this is completely opinion based. I mean, I try to go by the facts, consistency in snowfall, weather, snow conditions, things like that, terrain. So this is more of a list for people like who are looking for a big mountain experience. But I'm gonna try to like fit everything in so everyone can get value from this and you can find what resort works best for you. Now I've basically been to a total of 33 ski resorts. One of them, however, is Silverton in Colorado. That would be so high up on the list, but I don't really consider it to be a ski resort. It's more of a ski area. That's where I did heli skiing back in 23. So I'm not gonna have that on a list. It just doesn't feel like a resort and I don't really think it belongs on this list. But trust me, it doesn't matter because there's still so many places to have on here. Unlike last year where I basically ranked every single ski resort from worst to best, even though there's no worst ski resort, I basically ranked it from great to even better. But this year, I have even more resorts and it kind of just feels like I don't need to do that. So I'd rather just talk about my top 15 favorite resorts and throw some honorable mentions in there as well. Like I said before, this list is completely opinion based, but there's things I go off of like snowfall, conditions, all that stuff. So that being said, I'm gonna get into the honorable mentions really quick and then we'll get into the list. Resorts like Sunshine Village, Solitude, Taos Ski Valley, Alyeska, Mount Baker, Brighton, Powder Mountain, Deer Valley, all those resorts I would love to have on here, but the list would it wouldn't be a top 15, we'd be talking about a top 30, and that's not what I'm trying to do. So to kick off the list, number 15, Park City, Utah. I don't know what you guys are gonna think about this one because there's a big crowd of people who love Park City and there's a big crowd who hate it. I think Park City is great. They have a ton of variety in terrain. The town is great. There's a lot going on there. It's a very lively place to be. But for the skiing, it's great too. Now look, they don't have the biggest, most puckering terrain, but the terrain up at a Jupiter 9990, really good stuff. And we're talking about Utah Powder. Park City gets so much snow and the type of snow, the quality of the snow, the quantity is just amazing, like almost unbeatable. And to have things like an awesome terrain park, they got Woodward, I think. There's so much of Park City I haven't explored, and Park City is going to be a mountain that I'm going to be going to a lot because of just the location and the passes and everything. So it's definitely a place I have high up there and for good reason. I mean, it's an awesome place to be at. I feel like you can be in the whole crowd at the bottom and then find your own solitude up at the top. Not to mention you have all these other amazing ski resorts around. I mean, Park City is just kind of in the center of everything. Then next up on the list, number 14, actually kind of the opposite of Park City, but special in its own way, Grand Targhee up in Wyoming. Grand Targhee has a very local small mountain vibe, but that's not a bad thing at all. Sometimes you really need that. I like a mix of an active place and a very quiet place, and Targhee is like the quintessential quiet ski resort. I mean, granted, it is pretty close to Jackson, so you are gonna get maybe some crowds once in a while, but I got a great powder day there and there wasn't really any lines. It was pretty straightforward the entire time. Now granted, it's an hour away from Jackson, which is pretty close, but I still feel like the mountain, I just haven't seen it that crowded. We had a really deep powder day back in March and I felt like the mountain was almost empty the entire day. Targhee isn't the steepest or craziest mountain out there, but there's zones. I mean, they have this giant cliff face over by the toilet bowl. Yeah, that's right, the toilet bowl. And this mountain's less about the chutes and the steep trees, but more about just dropping cliffs and stuff like that. And my favorite thing about Targhee, honestly, is just the giant bowls. I mean, you could get so much fall line and long runs, and yeah, a lot of these runs feel pretty mellow. I mean, the good, the bad, the ugly area is like a black diamond rated area, but it's honestly pretty chill to me. But this is all so fun on a powder day, and those zones, even when it's like spring skiing conditions, hold up super well. I think Targhee's only on the Mountain Collective Pass, and it feels very independent, and that's what I like about it. The lodging there is ski in, ski out, and it's not too expensive. The food there is great. it's just overall, like, it's just a vibe being at Grand Targhee. All right, next up on the list, this mountain is very special to me because I felt like it really built me up as a skier and laid the foundation for extreme terrain skiing for me. And this is Crested Butte in Colorado. Crested Butte was the first place where I really pushed myself as a skier and got into actual double diamond skiing. I did a few lessons over there, and every time I did them, I felt like I walked out at twice as good of a skier. And that's because Crested Butte is just one of the most rugged, hardcore mountains out there. This is a very easy mountain to get lost at, and maybe a little drawback for me. But the real drawback with this mountain is just the amount of snow they get. They don't really get that much snow compared to the other resorts, but the terrain totally makes up for it. The views are insane, but the terrain is really what makes this place stand out. Not to mention the awesome local, like, just vibe there, and the ski town is also sick. They have some of the best breakfast burritos, food in that town. I mean, I'm probably gonna be talking about food more than the skiing in this list actually, but whatever, sometimes it's more important. Crested Butte really has some of the steepest trees, coolest chutes, sharpest rocks. I mean, this is one of the rockiest places on earth, which can make the skiing there pretty tough at times. I mean, you're definitely hitting rocks a lot if they don't get a lot of snow. Even when they do get a lot of snow, I felt like I was still hitting a lot of rocks. Some of the traversing at this mountain is also very sketchy, and it's all part of the adventure. I mean, that's one thing about skiing is even when you don't get that type of lap ability, even though Crested Butte, I gotta say, has amazing lap ability, things like traversing and stuff that may scare the shit out of me and hold a lot of people back is also part of the adventure. So that's why I have it here. If they got more snow, it'd probably be even higher, but I think number 13 is a pretty damn good spot for Crested Butte. Next up on the list, I actually haven't really had enough experience at this mountain, but from what I gathered here and what I was able to just kind of come up with about this mountain, number 12, Red Mountain up in British Columbia. I really like the vibe of this place. It's very quiet. It's only 10 minutes away from the US border, but it feels so much further away from any other resort I've ever been to because it's just in a weird spot in the country. It's like right above Eastern Washington, and I'm like never over there. If it was over by Whistler, which is technically even further from me, it would still feel closer because of just everything around it. But Rossland is basically in the middle of nowhere. At least for me. For Canadians, it might not seem like that, but Red Mountain really just has some of the best tree skiing out there. I do think they do get a good amount of snow. When the mountain has bad conditions, it probably sucks, but so does every other mountain, honestly. But I think Red gets pretty consistent snowfall. It's basically just a giant ski town. I'm pretty sure that Red gets a good amount of snowfall though, and the quality of the snow is very good too. It's up in BC, so you know, you get that cold powder, and you're not really on the coast. You're closer to the coast than a lot of mountains, but you're basically in line with like Revelstoke and places like that. One thing about Red though is you gotta watch out for the cat tracks. I mean, my dad almost broke his ankle on one of them. He fell off of a run onto a cat track. And those things just come out of nowhere. And the ski patrollers actually knew what we were talking about, because when my dad was like limping out, he was like, cat track? Yeah, basically. So beware of that. But Red's a great place. All the chairlifts are slow. So honestly, it does take a while to lap terrain, which is one drawback with the place. But it also has that local vibe, so you can't really go wrong with that. And also I have to talk about this restaurant called Gabriella's in Rossland. If you go to Rossland, you have to eat there. I mean, if you don't eat there, that should be a crime. That's ridiculous. This place is amazing, and get the Fernie special, very good. Highly recommend. But Red's a great place. Really didn't get to experience that place to the fullest potential, but I'll get back there and hopefully be able to do that. Staying in BC, like we were just talking about, number 11, Revelstoke. Red and Revelstoke felt very similar in ways, but Revelstoke just has kind of more of that big mountain terrain that I look for, so that's why I put it higher. Granted, Red's a very steep place, but Revelstoke kind of has like those big chutes and amazing tree skiing, and they just get a ton of snow too. I mean, Revi is just one of those iconic places. I do think the layout of the mountain's a little weird though, and it's very easy to get lost there. So maybe those are some drawbacks, but the snow quality and quantity is so good there. The terrain is great. The terrain is great, and the views are also impeccable. I mean, like most of the time it's been very cloudy when I've been there, but I got one bluebird day there and I was like, wow, I need to experience this more. Revelstoke's iconic. I mean, last time I spent my time heli skiing there, which they have some of the best heli skiing in the world too. So there's just so much you can do there. The town is great. Had this amazing ramen when I was there. Like you guys, I forget the name of the place though, but just look up ramen in Revelstoke and you'll probably find it. It's right across the street from this laundromat, I think, or like next door. No, it's next door. So if there's a laundromat and a ramen place, you gotta go in there. Do some laundry at the same time. That's what me and my dad did. But Revelstoke is a place that I always want to get back to just because of the beauty of it, the amazing tree skiing. I mean, this is probably gonna be the best tree skiing you'll find like almost anywhere. I mean, it's definitely up there. And Revi is a place I think that everyone has to get to at least once in their lifetime. Okay, into the top 10. This is exciting. Number 10, Big Sky, Montana. Now I do have a few things that hold this mountain lower than the other resorts that are kind of special reasons. I think the vibe there is a bit off sometimes. Now, the locals and the people I've met there, it's funny because I had a group of friends that went there and they said that everyone was mean to them. But then when me and my dad went, we met like the nicest people on earth. So it really depends on when you go, who you meet. I mean, like I can't base a resort off of that. But the patrollers there were very nice. I mean, some of my favorite patrollers out of any mountain. But it's really just the vibe of the place. Having to pay $25 for a tram ticket, like each way, like you have to pay $25 every time you go to the summit. Pay to play is something that just doesn't sound right to me. You know, if you have that on the pass, I mean, obviously you have to pay for season passes and stuff, but you know, for specific runs, that's just like, it's just icky, you know what I mean? I do like the chairlifts there though, except the Challenger chair. I think it's a Challenger chair, like I don't know who designed it, but it's fucking awful. But the rest of the chairs, like the 8-person chairs, all very nice. Big Sky has a great look to it, like I'm definitely not denying that. But the real draw to Big Sky for me is the terrain. Now, I'm not really sure on their snowfall. I'm pretty sure they get between 300 to 400 inches, but I'm not sure what that number is, like on average. But when they do get snow, it's that nice dry blower powder. And they do get some pretty giant dumps as well. But like I said, the real draw of that mountain to me is the terrain. The big couloir looks amazing. The headwaters look amazing. Unfortunately, the big couloir wasn't open when I was there, and the headwaters, I think I was just kind of by myself in that area. So I skied Cold Spring in the Headwaters Bowl, which are already really sick. And I want to just push out further and ski some of that steep terrain. And the goalies, I skied goalie 1 right on the face of the mountain, and that was just freaking amazing. So Big Sky has some of the coolest looking terrain out there, and it's definitely a place I love to get back to because I just am able to push myself a lot there, and just for videos, it just looks amazing when you're going through these shoots and stuff like that. So Big Sky's an amazing mountain. The vibe is kind of throwing me off once in a while, but at the end of the day, they have an amazing park. They got like amazing terrain diversity, amazing like groomers, terrain park, steep chutes, all that good stuff. So, and big storms, like that's what matters the most. Next up on the list is Telluride, Colorado. Now, Telluride also has amazing diversity in terrain. They have giant chutes, huge black diamond bowls, some of the best groomers in the world, to me, honestly, and an amazing terrain park. Now, I'm not a park skier, but I really want to get into it, and not even being a park skier, I look at these terrain parks and like my mouth is watering. It's like, it makes me want to get into park skiing, which I'm sure I will eventually, hopefully this season. But that's besides the point. Telluride has amazing terrain diversity. And it's funny because what holds it down lower on the list for me is the fact that they don't really get that much snow, which was surprising to me because the first time I ever went to Telluride, we were there for 6 days and we got 4 inches, 6 inches, 8 inches every single day. And I thought this place was just always consistently snowing. But I think it was just the storm we hit that was so special, because the rest of the times we've been there, it's honestly like, it hasn't been dry. It's a very dry place. But well, the second time we were there was a high pressure system going on. But in general, they just don't really get those giant storms as much. They will get giant storms though. But I feel like Utah really gets all that snow, and then Colorado just gets the leftovers, and Telluride, unfortunately, is just in that area where it can be very dry at times. But honestly, my favorite thing about this mountain next to the terrain diversity is the views. I mean, this place is absolutely amazing. The first time I went up there, I was like, this is the most beautiful place I've ever been. The Revelation Bowl is the most in-your-face views and skiing you'll probably ever experience. I mean, these mountains are so jagged and huge, and they're just right up in your face. So imagine going up there on a bluebird powder day. You get like 2 feet of snow, it's a bluebird the next day, and you're just lapping the Revelation Bowl and you have these views in your face. I mean, it's honestly some of the best skiing out there. I mean, what else can you ask for, right? I do think the Mountain Village is a little lame, honestly, though. Like, they don't have breakfast that opens up at like 6 a.m. Everything opens at like 9, and then things close at 3. It's basically meant for tourists, so I wouldn't even recommend the Mountain Village. It's not set up for diehard skiers. I would go into the town where they have a lot more going on. I still wish they had a lot more than that, but you know, I still think it's a great place. All right, next up on the list, I really love this mountain. Number 8, Crystal Mountain up in Washington. I've only been to Crystal once, and that was last season, but I had some of my best days there ever. My first day ever there, I was able to just ski some of the most puckering terrain. I skied my favorite run of the year that day. What I love so much about Crystal is they get a ton of snow. I'm pretty sure they average around 500 inches a season, and they have amazing views. It's not as much like all around like Telluride views, but they have Mount Rainier, and then like Mount Rainier is like right there. And on a bluebird day, it's just insane to look at. And the mountain itself is honestly just very beautiful. Everything around, it's not like super jagged views. It's more like those cascade-like mountains, but some of the cascades are insane. And it's definitely an insane area up there. My favorite thing about this mountain though is easily the terrain. I mean, off of every chair, I just feel like there's some sort of huge chute or just like really cool looking couloir that you can go up to. And with that snow, it's just like, you can have so many good days up there. The one drawback about this mountain is it is on the coast though. So even though they'll get a lot of snow, a lot of those storms will be wet and heavy, but you can also get dry days. I mean, we had a 3-inch little powder day there and the snow was really nice and dry, but it was also very cold that day. So, you know, now that I think about it, maybe it wasn't that cold that day, but still, it just depends on the storm, just like every other resort and things like that. Like, it really depends on where you go and the time period you hit it. But Crystal Mountain is a place I'm always going to want to get back to. All right, next up on the list. Now this one's special to me. Honestly, I could put this in my top 3 if I wanted to, but for logistic reasons, I have it as number 7 because there's just things about it that hold it back from just being the best. And if this one thing was different, then it would be the best for me. But unfortunately, it just is pretty low. Number 7, Lake Louise up in Alberta. Now, what really just holds this mountain back for me is the lack of snowfall. The quality of the snow is great, but I'm pretty sure they only get around 200 inches of snow a season. That's close to what Hunter Mountain gets, upstate New York. So yeah. With that being said though, Lake Louise is the most beautiful mountain I have ever been to. I am always happy when I'm at this mountain. This mountain has insanely steep terrain in the backside, amazing groomers, a huge terrain park. Like I was saying before, the terrain diversity at this place is basically perfect. Just like Telluride and Big Sky, they basically have everything. They have the whole west side where you could ski like into the trees and stuff like that. I haven't experienced the west side, but it looks like some pretty nice tree skiing in that area. It has incredible fall line, but it's really just the terrain back there in the backside that's my favorite skiing at the mountain. It's just huge chutes, very long chutes, very steep. The Alphabet Goalies are some of my favorite terrain in the world. The Brown Cow chute is one of the sickest looking like inbound chutes there is. But what really wins me over about this mountain is the views. I mean, every time I go there, it's sunny and it's just the most beautiful place I've ever been to. This is in the Banff area, just like Sunshine Village, but honestly, I think this mountain is even more beautiful than Sunshine Village. And it's not just the on-mountain experience that makes this place for me. It's just the vibe around the area. It's so quiet. You get a lot of people from Calgary, but I feel like I'm never waiting in lift lines there. This place also has the best breakfast buffet I've ever experienced in my life. Unfortunately, I missed it last time I was there, but the first time I was there, I had like this perfect ski day. I got the awesome breakfast buffet in the morning. Then I went to the mountains, skied all day. Like I skied the Alphabet Goalies, did a lot of steep skiing. And then we went to the lake later in the day. So it was just a perfect day. And honestly, one of my favorite places on earth is the lake itself. Ending a great ski day and going there for sunset is honestly just, it's the greatest vibe in the world. Every time I'm at that lake, I just feel like all stress leaves my body and I'm just in nature. That is the most, like, I'm sure during the summer it gets a lot of people, but during the winter, it's so quiet. All the kids are playing ice hockey on the lake. It's just, everything about it is just perfect. So, except for the snowfall, which is only 200 inches a season, because the place it's a very rocky area. Like you'll definitely, most likely be hitting a lot of rocks when you're skiing at Lake Louise. The groomers there are amazing, and the quality of the snow in the backside is just incredible. And a Bluebird Powder Day would probably be the best day of skiing I would ever have. Damn, I really want to have Lake Louise higher though. It really deserves to be. All right, next up on the list, number 6, Whistler Blackcomb up in British Columbia. I was hesitant to put Whistler above Lake Louise, just for a few big reasons. The inconsistency in weather and the amount of people. But what made me put Whistler above Lake Louise is just the higher probability of you getting a massive snowstorm, like just skiing a huge storm cycle when you're there. I feel like Lake Louise, they get a very tiny amount of snow like with each storm, probably only like a few inches, but Whistler will get like 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot dumps. So that's what really those are the best days in skiing to me, when you get those huge storm days and then you get a Bluebird Powder Day the next day. Like Whistler is a very common place for that to happen. Unfortunately though, it's a very hit or miss place, and last time we were there was actually a miss, and that was the only time I've been there, but I want to hit it during a hit. And the crowds there are just, I mean, it's the busiest ski resort I've ever been to, but for a good reason. I mean, Whistler is the biggest ski resort in North America, and the terrain there is just second to none. I mean, you can ski anything you want there. It has everything. It has the coolest looking chutes. It has basically everything you could think of. It has that terrain diversity. Maybe not as good as groomers as like Lake Louise, and the views there are amazing. It's not like Lake Louise views, but it's still incredible. It's really just being able to get a huge storm day and then go down to the bottom and like party with all your friends and stuff. Like that's a vibe in of itself. On certain days I'll pick Lake Louise over Whistler, and other days I'll pick Whistler. So, you know, like I said, it really depends, but Whistler number 6, I think, is a pretty good spot to be. All right, guys, we're in the top 5. Now, this top 5 has changed around a lot. A couple of them have stayed the same for like forever, but like, you know, 3 to 5, I've always swapped around a lot. So it can be different on different days, but I think I like where everything's placed right now. Number 5 is gonna be Fernie in British Columbia. Fernie kind of feels like the best of Lake Louise and Whistler. The reason I have it above both of those mountains is just because they'll get big snowstorm dumps. Maybe not like 2 foot as often, but like I've been there on like some 8-inch powder days, and every time I've been there, it's snowed a pretty good amount. So they're pretty consistent with that. The snow quality there is great. You're on the interior. The views are absolutely amazing, especially if you're up on Polar Peak. Polar Peak is one of the steepest chairlifts I have ever skied, and it opens so rarely, but if you're there in February, you might catch the opening for it, and that is just an experience to behold itself. Fernie has some of the weirdest ski runs I've ever skied in my life, and they have some of the steepest terrain. I mean, Fernie, I don't really consider to be that diverse of a mountain because it's really a mountain for the experts, but it's a mountain that speaks to me. It has, honestly, my favorite tree skiing out of any resort I've been to. I'm pretty sure, at least. And I used to have this mountain as like my number 3, and for certain reasons I kept it where it is, but the amount of snowfall I get, the lodging, all that stuff, like everything is just so down to earth there. I've never waited on a single lift line there. Like I don't think ever, except for the white pasture, maybe I've waited like a couple minutes, but that's the most. You're skiing Lake Louise quality snow with Whistler level dumps on an insane mountain. That's why Fernie is just so high up there for me. And the town there is just incredible too. We go to this sushi place pretty often, and everything about it I just love. Fernie is a place that every time I'm there, I'm just happy. All right, guys, number 4, we're gonna have Alta in Utah. Alta gets the best snow on the planet, except for Japan, maybe. Alta gets Utah quality powder. It has that big mountain skiing, main chute, little chute, all that stuff is amazing. High rustler. Everything about this mountain I love. I love the vibe there. I love the views. I think the views are some of the most beautiful in the world there. The only thing that holds Alta a little lower on this list is one thing, and I just think it's an awkward mountain to navigate. There's a lot of traversing, there's a lot of sidestepping and things like that. And I think to get to High Rustler, I was traversing for like, felt like 10 minutes. I mean, it felt like 10 minutes, it could have been less. And just kind of working your way around that mountain can be very awkward, but everything else about it is just, it just feels so perfect. It has those iconic wall-to-wall chutes there. It has insanely huge storms, like super dry powder, amazing tree skiing, huge open bowls. Everything you can ask for is at Alta, except if you're a snowboarder, then yeah, you're kind of cooked. But honestly, I think the reason they don't allow snowboarders is because they would hate the place. I mean, you're traversing everywhere, so yeah, it is what it is. But Alta, I think, is at a fair spot on this list. Top three. This top 3, I'm pretty certain in. There's a few things I would change, you know, it's like, there's a few things I would move around, maybe, except for number 1. Number 1 is certain, but everything else is just like, you know, can all be interchanged or whatever. But number 3, Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Jackson Hole has the best powder run on the planet to me, a rendezvous bowl to the Hobacks. They get 500 inches of snow on average a season. They get those giant storms. My one drawback with Jackson that doesn't make it number 1 for me is the fact that when they don't get a lot of snow for a period of time, it just kind of gets sun crusted, and it can be like hell to ski in like the Hobacks and areas like that. But everything else about it, I mean, there just gets so much snow. The terrain there is just so steep and gnarly. They have giant chutes there. I mean, Corbett's Couloir, obviously, but then you got the head wall, you got the Alta chutes. The Hobacks are really fun just for like knee-deep, waist-deep powder skiing. And it's just Jackson Hole. They got the tram, they got all that stuff. Getting up to Jackson at like 7:30 for first tram in the morning, and then just like skiing all day long. It's just a vibe. The town of Jackson's awesome. It's probably my favorite ski town on the planet. And it's just, what else can I say about Jackson that you haven't already heard? It's Jackson Hole. The lodging in town is honestly really reasonable. On the mountain, the lodging looks beautiful, but very expensive. But in town, like the Wyoming Inn, we stayed at the Spring Creek Ranch, the Snow King Lodge, all that stuff is just so good. Very reasonable price, amazing food, and it's Jackson Hole. Number 2. Now this one's funny because they don't really get a lot of snow, but the quality of the snow is really good. It's like Lake Louise, except they do get like 270 inches of snow per season. But the terrain at this mountain is so good that I just had to have it this high on the list. That's funny because I'm really just solely ranking this mountain based on the terrain and the views. And this is Kicking Horse up in British Columbia. Kicking Horse has the best terrain out of any mountain I've ever been to, by far. This place wins. And I think for that reason, it deserves a number 2 spot. What doesn't make it number 1 is the fact that like the bottom third of the mountain can be like just a lot of groomers and stuff like that. So it's not like total steep from top to bottom, but the steep at the top is ridiculous. I mean, you have the most wall-to-wall, like tight couloirs. Everything about it is just puckering. There's a ton of cliffs. You can push yourself as a skier and never know when to stop at this mountain. The views at this place are basically like the most beautiful I've ever seen, just right under Lake Louise. And it's only an hour away, so you're still seeing those same type of mountains. Pretty sure the Rockies are on the other side and the Purcells are behind the mountain, if I'm correct about that. I did heli skiing there too. And there's just so much to do up in Kicking Horse, but it's really not a diverse mountain. Like I said, with like Telluride or Lake Louise or like Big Sky, it's really just a mountain for the experts. But it just wins me over because of that terrain. Now, if they got more snow, this place would be basically perfect, but they do get 270 inches of snow a season. So again, not like a really small amount, but it's definitely not a lot. And on a Bluebird day, this is one of the most fun places to be. All right, number 1. Now, there's a lot of mountains in North America, and I'm sure out of this, you could probably guess what it is because like I feel like everyone says this and it's such an obvious mountain that wasn't mentioned on this list. But this is Snowbird in Utah. This is the one mountain on this list that I think is absolutely perfect. I mean, maybe no mountain is perfect, but like Snowbird is the closest to it. They get over 500 inches of snow a season. One season they got like just like Alta. I mean, Alta and Snowbird are basically on that same level for snow. But at Snowbird, I've pushed myself so much. The terrain there is so good. You got 3,000 feet of steep vertical from top to bottom. You have some of the best views. I mean, Mount Superior, all that stuff. Like even looking out into Mineral Basin, even though it's not quite as crazy, like the mountains in front are just insane. The snow quality, this is Utah powder we're talking about. So this is the best snow you'll get, period. They'll get giant storms. Alta might get a little more, but Snowbird gets these absolutely giant snowstorms. And the whole process of just getting up to the mountain, I mean, the first time I ever went to Snowbird, I actually stayed at the cliff for a week, which was just insane. But that was in 2019. I wasn't a very good skier. It was my first time out west. It was at the end of April too, so just like things like that. But like going up there for like single powder days and stuff, getting up at like 5 in the morning, going up the Canyon Road, especially when they have the traction law and order, like it's just a vibe going up there early, eating at the mountain. And it's not just the skiing and all that stuff, like the deep powder, the tree skiing, the chutes, all of it. It has literally everything. But ending the day off, going into General Grits with like an Italian hoagie and stuff like that, like having a hero, and then driving out of the canyon, sometimes in the, what do you call it? The red ribbon of death? Or the red snake, the red snake. It's the white ribbon of death and then the red snake. Yeah, sometimes it's a bit of a hassle getting up there and leaving, but it's all part of the experience. And every time I leave Snowbird, I'm always the happiest out of any place I've ever been to because Snowbird just has everything. And it has that whole community too. I mean, I've made a lot more friends in Utah than I have in other places because of the amount of time I've spent there. But Snowbird is always going to be number one, I think, for me, because it just has everything. It has that terrain diversity, it has the snow. It has the vibe for hardcore skiers. Like I mentioned with a Telluride earlier, what I don't like about the mountain village is things don't open early and then they close early. It's like everyone's on the mountain during those times. But at Snowbird, you have restaurants that open at like, I think like 6:37, even 6 maybe. And then they close at like at least 5 o'clock. So it's just fit for hardcore skiers, and it's just a great place to be. I mean, if you want the best powder day of your life, it'll probably be at Snowbird. Anyways, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed that list. Like I said, this is mostly just opinion, but there's a lot of facts that go into it. I mean, I look at the snow totals and just kind of average it all out and see, you know, what works best, for me at least. So like I said, like maybe Kicking Horse would be like your least favorite mountain if you're more like looking for everything. Like Lake Louise might be your number one, but pretty sure Snowbird just kind of wins with everything. Snowbird's not the most like diverse mountain in terrain, maybe like with greens and stuff. It's definitely more for the experts, but For expert skiers, you have everything you could possibly ask for there. That being said, ski season's starting up soon, and I got more episodes of season 7 coming in soon, so yeah, got a new camera too. I'm actually looking at the box. I didn't even open that yet. I'm gonna film that today. And yeah, a lot of good stuff. So I'll see you guys next time.